we are so much developed. We're not already there, but we're somewhere.
You know this thing where people say that people from the West are naturally smarter than we are. I don't subscribe to that.
I think the biggest challenge Africa has is lack of unity. We are not united as a continent.
Let go of our petty differences that sometimes just keep us apart, and stop listening sometimes to outside voices that will try to keep us apart for their own benefit.
So I want everything to be produced within the continent, and anyone who wants to come in must abide by our rules, not theirs.
Hi.
Hi.
I have a question for you. Okay, first tell us who you are.
My name is Juliet Kane. I am a food content creator on YouTube and on social media.
Welcome.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for coming. So, my question to you today is, how is Africa portrayed in pop culture, in the news, and in the movies? Do you agree with how Africa is portrayed, and do you think it's accurate? If not, what do you think should be done?
I would say how Africa is portrayed in pop culture is a bit myopic. It's a bit short-sighted. I feel like they pick and choose parts of Africa that fit into the narrative that we are poor, we are disdained, we are like down there. But I feel like Africa is such a haven of like talent, vibrance, culture. Everything is so nice and rich, and that's not how we are portrayed out there. So I feel like there should be a more diverse representation of Africa. While some parts of Africa might be struggling and in need of help, there are also parts of Africa that are amazing, full of culture, full of diverse richness that I don't even think anywhere else can get to this place. So I think there should be a more diverse representation of Africa on the media and in pop culture.
Great. So, I want to ask you a second question. Do you have any friend outside of Kenya that is African?
Do I?
Do you?
No?
Okay.
Do I?
So,
No, I don't think so.
okay. So, for that reason, I want to ask you, on this channel, I always push for unity of Africans.
Okay.
Us coming together and building our continent, changing the narrative and fixing things up, basically. So, how do you think we should move going forward, trying to come together, like a Kenyan, getting to know a South African, a Nigerian, a Ghanaian, like for us to come together and really build that community, we need to get to know each other, right? First, we need to have a relationship. So how do you think we can do that to build that community, that actual genuine love for one another? And actually, when someone asks us, do you know someone from Ghana? We're like, yeah, they're wonderful people, right? So what are your thoughts on that?
I'd say, you remember that we used to have pen pals when we were younger, and we'd write letters, and then it just died. But now we have social media. I feel like pen pals would be so much easier with social media.
Yeah.
So if there was something like a pen pal program through social media where you write to people in African countries and you connect with them through social media, and if they want to come and visit, then you can host them, and vice versa. I think that would be a way to like diversify the relationships within Africa.
I actually really love that answer. Thank you so much.
Okay, so first of all, my name is Sebastian,
Yes.
at the Kenyan entrepreneur.
Yeah.
And the question you're asking is the role of Africa,
In the global community.
the global community, and what can be done to improve that.
Yes.
That is a tricky question, first of all, because for the longest, the narrative that has been championed is Africa is the place where resources are coming from. I feel like the resources that people focus on are mostly mineral. When they talk about resources, they're talking about minerals. But I feel like our role goes beyond and should go beyond minerals, because now we're exporting talent, we're exporting content, we're exporting knowledge. Because you know this thing where people say that people from the West are naturally smarter than we are. I don't subscribe to that. So I think our role in the global community is, first of all, being a contributor in the conversations of development. Number two, then we can talk about the resources. By resources meaning minerals, meaning talent, meaning knowledge. And most importantly, I think Africa is in a space where it can be the champion for global peace, because now the people that are fighting are not from here. So we can be the place where they come and have these conversations. And we should also have a clever way of getting value from it. So what can be done to improve that is just more and more people, organizations, countries having an open mind and thinking of Africa as another partner in global community, as opposed to just a place where they come and take. So I think if we can strike that balance, then we're going to be good.
Next question.
Okay.
Okay, so this question is about how Africa is portrayed.
Mm-hmm.
How do you think is Africa being portrayed globally, internationally, in pop culture or the news, mainstream media? But how do you like Africa to be seen?
Okay. I think the portrayal of... There's an interview I did on my channel, and this guy gave a very good example. Someone had asked him what he'd rather be, Michael Jackson or the founder of CNN. And being an artist, he automatically said Michael Jackson. You know, you're on stage and guys are applauding and you're like, it's my moment. But the thing that changed his thinking was the founder of CNN, when he first opened, he said, we are opening today and we are never closing. You know, and ever since, CNN has never gone off air. And in that mindset, or if you think about that story, the thing that stands out is the power of media. You know, they took a malnourished kid with a fly on the mouth, and that became the image that people knew Africa for. And I thank God for things like the internet, because now we can tell our own stories in our own ways. But also that comes with the risk, because now people start commercializing the things that you celebrate locally. Like the things that make sense to you now start being summarized as a movie or a film. So the portrayal is still not in our best interest. And I think the best way to improve that is now us being able to finance the conversation that we want to champion. Because if you're not financing what you're championing for, then you become someone who just gets to receive what you're given.
Yes.
You know, so if our leaders can make sober decisions, as youth leaders, as politicians, as even you with your content, you know, just championing for these conversations that portray us in a way that represents us, then I think we're gonna be positioning ourselves in such a way that the first question will make more sense, because now our contribution to the global community is gonna be stronger and more appreciated.
Thank you so much, Sebastian. We really appreciate it. We'll put down your name and everything.
At the Kenyan Entrepreneur.
Yes.
So one of the biggest issues is that it's the West that actually tells African stories. And the reason for that is they have mostly the most resources. So I think one of the things that we should do is, even if we don't have the money to do big productions and stories about Africa, that shouldn't be an excuse. We should still work on giving people the stories about Africa, because Africa is beautiful. It's not just the hoi hoi in South Africa. Africa has a lot to offer the whole world. So the one thing I think Africa can do that will propel us to the next stage is to have one African visa, one African passport. I shouldn't need to get a visa to go to another African country, because the borders were not created by Africans. They were created by Europeans for their own purposes, and we shouldn't let that define us now. So to our African leaders, I hope you're listening. No more boundaries.
What is your vision for Africa?
So my vision for Africa is this, that Africans see themselves as worthy of everything in the world. We have the biggest resources. Our problem is that we hand over raw materials out. So I want everything to be produced within the continent, and anyone who wants to come in must abide by our rules, not theirs.
Hi. Hi,
Hi,
your name?
my name is DIY with Jojo.
Welcome, Jojo.
Thank you so much for having me.
I have a question for you.
Yes.
So, the number one question I have for you is about Africa, of course.
Yes.
So, what do you think is one of the biggest challenges that Africa has, and how do you think it can be addressed?
I think the biggest challenge Africa has is lack of unity. We are not united as a continent. And if we can be able to get like the African leaders, the presidents, creating ways where we can be more united as a continent, we'll be so developed.
Second question. How do you feel about African education? Or you can just tell me specifically, just Kenyan.
So I think Kenyan education system is tailored to job searching. It doesn't teach you ways how you can be able to survive outside if you're not in a working environment.
Okay, so what can we do about it?
Teach more on how people can survive if they're not in a working environment, because you get that the education system is tailored to doing exams. So you're taught this in class, and then this is what you learn just to do your exams. But now when you go out into the world, you have a lot of challenges, like you don't know how to manage your money. We don't have like finance taught like in depth on how you can be able to better manage your finances and survive in the world. So I'd love at least if it could incorporate more of worldly lessons.
I get it. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Hi.
Hi,
What is your name?
my name is Agatha. I am a content creator and an interior designer as well.
Welcome.
Oh, thank you.
I have a question for you.
Okay.
The question is, how do you think Africa is being portrayed on the media and pop culture, on the news? And what do you think should be done to rectify that?
Okay, so personally, I think the African culture is not portrayed as much as it should be. I feel like the social media or the Western side of the world shows Africa as very poor. They show the negative side of Africa. I feel like they make us look like we're too vulnerable, whereas all the resources come from Africa. Like basically 80% of the world's resources come from Africa, and we have so many developments that are not showcased out there. So anytime someone from the West who's not experienced the African experience, they see Africa from social media and all that, people tend to see an undeveloped Africa or uncivilized, whereas we have so many developments. Our cities are looking so good. People are doing so much more than the world is portraying how Africa is. So I feel like we are so much developed. We're not already there, but we're somewhere. And I feel like the social media, people should portray more of the positive side of Africa. I love what content creators are doing. People like Miss Trudy, Wodemaya, all these travel content creators, they're showcasing parts of Africa that are really, really nice. So I feel like they are at least changing the narrative.
So your advice is we should try to show our continent in the best way possible.
Yes.
Thank you.
No.
One last question before you go. Okay, so on this channel, I talk about unity a lot amongst ourselves, coming together and building our continent. Do you believe we are united right now?
Yes.
If the answer is no, what do you think we should do to come together, all of us?
Okay, so I feel like the eastern side of Africa is a bit united. I wouldn't speak much about the other parts of Africa. I haven't been there. So I feel like the eastern side is united. It's easier for Kenyans to move to Uganda, to move to Tanzania. I feel like there's some sort of unity. I see our leaders merging and doing so many things together. So I feel like there's some unity. It's not as bad as it was before. So I feel like we have some unity.
Yeah, so my takeaway from this is be more like Tanzania, Uganda, and Kenya.
Yeah, for sure.
Thank you so much, Agatha.
Thank you for having me.
Hi, Sue.
Hi.
Tell us about yourself.
Well, my name is Susie. I am a mom of 4 kids. I'm a working mom, and I'm an African. I live in Kenya.
Clearly.
I am Kenyan. Yes.
Okay, so I have a question for you.
Uh-huh.
So we talk about African unity a lot, and so unfortunately, right now, I don't believe, at least, we are not where we're supposed to be. So with that being said, what do you think should be done to bring us together? For example, the Congolese with, the Ethiopian, the Somalis with the Nigerian, Ghanaian, South Africa, and Zimbabwe, and how do you think we can all come together and, build our beloved continent?
I think it starts with mostly education, because I feel like if people understood the benefits that would come with joining together, then they would be more inclined, and governments and us, we would push our governments to just create more of an opportunity for us to come together with other African countries, because I feel like people don't really understand. And if we just look at the West and see how when they come together, they've done great things, they've improved their countries and their continents. I think if their minds were open to that, then they would probably be more willing and eager to join hands and then let go of our petty differences that sometimes just keep us apart, and stop listening sometimes to outside voices that will try to keep us apart for their own benefit. And I think that will be so much more beneficial for our continent as a whole.
Great answer. Second question, and last one, I promise.
Yeah.
So the second question is, how do you think Africa is being portrayed in the media, in the news, internationally, worldwide? And do you agree with it? If you don't agree with it, what can be done to cancel that narrative and really have our own say?
Well, I don't think we are portrayed as we are. I mean, you hear someone asking, like, if they find out you're from Africa, like, do you guys live in houses? Do you guys literally wear clothes? I mean, what is that? And then they feel that all of us are like poverty stricken, and like there's no good that can come out of Africa. We're always fighting, and then they portray it as a hotbed of terror. I mean, hello, excuse me. So yeah, I feel like we have been portrayed really negatively, and it's so sad. And I feel one of the best things we can do is, like, spin our own tale, tell our own narrative, own it, like you have done on this fantastic channel. We just tell people like the story as it is, and even just other YouTubers. And I just love to see so many YouTubers who are growing up and are confident about being African, proud of being African, showing the African side. And you will hear so many guys, even on my channel, they come up and say, oh my gosh, I never knew that there is so much in Africa, in Kenya, so it's really nice that we need to own our voices, be strong, be firm, don't let ourselves be influenced so much by other people, and yeah, speak up and be proud of who we are, because God put us here for a reason.
Yep.
And I'm very happy to be here.
Thank you so much, Sue.
Thank you for having me.